What's up mga koy and welcome back to the Techie Game. So this is my full review of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9 after 2 weeks. Of course, if you guys want to watch my unboxing and first impressions of this, then you can check it out here. So yeah, the Redmi Note 9 is the cheapest option of Xiaomi's Redmi Note series, with the higher end ones being the Note 9S and Note 9 Pro. So what I bought is the 3GB 64GB variant in forest green, which is also available with a midnight gray and polar white option. Again, I got this for only 7,150 mga kuya. Shoutout sa mga vouchers. But the MSRP is 7,990, which is still a great value for an overall solid mid-range or budget smartphone. Yeah, the Redmi Note 9 is in the budget segment but with mid-range specs. I guess that depends on how you consider, on what you consider as budget. Inside the box, you get the phone itself, your usual books and shits, a SIM ejector, a soft clear TPU case, USB-A to Type-C cable, and a wall charger with fast charging that's capable of a max output of 22.5 watts. The Redmi Note 9 comes pre-installed with a plastic screen protector, so I removed that immediately. And here are the specs. You guys can just pause the video. But the three standouts here are the MediaTek Helio G85, which is a solid performer, the quad camera setup, mainly the picture quality and not the video quality, which you'll see why in a bit, and of course that 5020 mAh battery, which is kind of becoming a thing in budget to mid-range smartphones, which is insane. So starting the review with the build quality, so it's solid for the most part. Overall construction of the Note 9 is really good. It feels solid in the hand and doesn't feel cheap by any means. It doesn't flex if you try to bend it. A huge contributor is that 5020 mAh battery. But the back or main frame of the phone is plastic. While Xiaomi made it to look like glass, it's actually just plastic and it scratches fairly easily. After 3 to 4 days of using it, it started to show micro scratches at the back with me just casually placing this on any surface. So I immediately installed the soft case when that happened. Also, you can optionally use a skin, especially if you guys don't want your Redmi Note 9 to be too bulky. But I feel like for the price, Xiaomi could have gone for a glass back like with the previous Redmi Note 8, but of course that's just me. But to any company that's going to put a plastic back or main frame on a phone, then my suggestion is using a textured back instead of this glossy finish, so it doesn't scratch easily or easily show scratches. The power button and volume rockers are good. They feel okay and not too tactile and clicky. Moving on to design, I'm digging the design, but of course that's subjective. Again, what I have is the forest green color option, which is very nice. The phone isn't too thick at just 8.9mm, which I honestly don't mind as long as it has a huge battery. At the right side, we have the power button and volume rockers, which is the best placement in my opinion, with the power button just a little over the middle, and just above that are the volume rockers. At the top, we have the IR blaster for controlling your TV or appliances, the secondary noise cancelling microphone. At the bottom, we have good old jack, the main microphone, USB Type-C port, and single bottom firing speaker. At the left side, we have the SIM card tray, which has a rubber seal around the outer part, which is a nice touch since Xiaomi claims that this is splash resistant. And at the back, we have the quad camera setup, which has a fairly thick camera bump at about 2mm and position at the top middle part, which is definitely better than placing it at the top left corner, since there are people who take pictures like this and sometimes blocks the lens. So yeah, we also have the single LED flash, fingerprint scanner, and the Redmi branding over here. Lastly, at the front, we have the 6.53-inch IPS LCD display along with the single hole punch for the front-facing 13-megapixel camera. And this is one of the few smartphones in this price range to have a hole punch for the front-facing camera, so good stuff from Xiaomi. At the top, we have the earpiece speaker grill along with the IR proximity sensor. No notification LED, which I wish Xiaomi could have placed at the bottom bezel or chin, but oh well. It does have a sizable chin at about 5mm, which I really wish could have been utilized. Basically, it's a waste of space. And just a suggestion, of course, you could potentially place the single bottom firing speaker here and maybe use the top speaker grill for dual front-facing stereo speakers. I mean, yeah, that would be awesome. And the side and top bezels are not the thinnest at about 2mm around the frame, and the black bezels around the front gives the Redmi Note 9 a two-tone look. Moving on to the display, so this again has a 6.53-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 2340 by 1080, so a full HD plus display with a max brightness of 450 nits, all under Corning Gorilla Glass 5. And overall, the display looks really good, nice nice and sharp for the most part, easily viewable outdoors even under direct sunlight. Colors by default look a bit bluish and a bit oversaturated, but you can always change that in the display settings. I found that my preferred setting is the standard color setting and makes the colors more natural and a bit muted, which I found is the most pleasing to the eye. And we also have a reading mode which should be better for our eyes and makes the display yellowish. You can adjust the intensity, and in the end I didn't use it anyway, so yeah. We also have a dark mode which is a no-brainer. I just turned that on immediately. And this does have decent black levels even though this is an LCD display. Viewing angles are great. There's pretty much no color shift even at extreme angles. But yeah, an overall impressive display, especially for the price. Next up is the quad camera setup. So we have a 48 megapixel main sensor with an f1.8 aperture with face detection autofocus, 8 megapixel ultra-wide sensor with an f2.2 aperture, 2 megapixel macro sensor with an f2.4 aperture, and 2 megapixel depth sensor also with an f2.4 aperture. And pictures taken on the main sensor are really good, nice and sharp with good dynamic range. Colors may be a bit oversaturated, but overall picture quality looks really good again. By default, the main sensor takes 16 megapixel shots, if I'm not mistaken, and you can actually use that whole 48 megapixel sensor but with larger file sizes. Doubles the file size basically compared to the shots taken on the default photo mode. Shutter speed is pretty much instantaneous and is basically the same with using the default and 48 megapixel mode, which is nice. If you carefully inspect the photo taken at 48 megapixels compared to the default photo mode on a larger screen like a monitor, then you will see the difference in sharpness, but just on the phone display itself, you most likely won't notice it. If you're just sharing pictures on social media, then the 48 megapixel mode is unnecessary unless you're doing it for professional work or uploading the full file size to a server or something like that. Even though Xiaomi didn't advertise a telephoto lens, we do get a 2x button which does a good job in retaining a good amount of detail. Shots taken on the ultra-wide lens are really impressive considering the price. You wouldn't expect these kinds of results. Although there is a bit of distortion at the corners, but thankfully you have a correct distortion option in the settings which fixes the problem up nicely. The macro lens is okay. I mean, it's cool you get to take close-up shots at a few inches from your subject, but results are a mixed bag and you need to have really steady hands to get good shots out of it, or use a tripod or handheld stabilizer. And lastly are the portrait shots. Now that's really convincing. The quality that you get, the edge detection is on point. You also get a pro mode for all you photographers out there who want to manually adjust the camera settings, a panorama mode which does a good job in seamlessly stitching the picture all together, but of course depending on the scene, expect distortion. And lastly is the night mode. So by default, the main sensor already does a respectable job in low light or nighttime shots, reduces noise while sacrificing detail and having softer looking photos. But using night mode and holding your phone for a little less than a second, then you get an overall impressive low light shot. You get some details back, better exposure, and just an overall sharper photo. And picture quality is also really good on the front-facing 13 megapixel sensor with an f2.3 aperture. You get nice and detailed selfies, a bit oversaturated again, but just overall great looking selfies. Even though it doesn't have a dedicated sensor for depth information, the portrait mode is also really good, and that's also convincing. Also does a respectable job in low light or nighttime shots, but expect noise to creep in. And regarding video quality, well, not too impressed. Video test. What's up mga kuya? So this is the video coming out of the main sensor. So right now, we are recording at 1080p 30 fps from the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9. And yeah, this is how the internal microphone sounds like. And video quality is okay. It's not the best. I mean, it's still 1080p, but I think Xiaomi could have included a 4K option here since it was available in the previous Xiaomi Redmi Note 8. For the most part, the video quality for 1080p is actually good. Not great, decent at most. And the autofocus is fairly quick, although there are some focus hunting issues. But yeah, overall video quality is okay. It's decent at most. I was actually expecting a bit more. The details aren't sharp as I was expecting it to be. The details actually look soft. And yeah. And yeah, this is like the blog test for the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9 coming out of the front-facing 30 megapixel sensor. And again, we are recording at 1080p 30 fps. And yeah, video quality again looks okay for the most part. The one weird thing is that with the front-facing video, the video quality looks soft, which I don't like. I actually turned off the beauty effects. I thought it was with the beautify effects, um, but yeah, it's turned off and the video still looks soft. Like it looks really artificial, but yeah, here the focus is actually quite good. And it doesn't focus on actually, which is weird. So this is a good phone if you're planning on vlogging, and yeah, it's good, not the best but good. Lower your volume. Moving on to the software and performance, the Redmi Note 9 is running on MIUI 11 on top of Android 10, and for the most part this is definitely a familiar experience since I've used a Redmi Note 5 for a year. Performance is solid and smooth for the most part, browsing through the UI, opening, closing apps, and even playing the most graphically intensive games in the Play Store. The Note 9 can run it easily, but there are some hiccups, bugs, or lags. There are times where I would be in an app and I would get momentarily stuck when I press home, and just some random lags here and there, which happens rarely. Of course, something that Xiaomi can fix through a software update, and a contributor to those hiccups, bugs, or lags is having multiple apps open in the background. Again, this is the 3GB variant, so it's not for someone who multitasks a lot with their smartphone. So if you were looking to buy the 4GB 128GB variant, which costs $99.90, then just go for the 4GB 64GB variant of the Redmi Note 9s, which is a better overall smartphone. You get a better and more powerful chipset, a better display, faster storage, and 4K video recording. And regarding heat, it only heats up quite a bit when charging, but when playing something like PUBG Mobile or Call of Duty, it doesn't overheat. The Redmi Note 9 only heats up a bit, and that's it. And regarding the overall user experience, it's great for the most part. Xiaomi did a good job with optimization. And of course, if you guys want to have a performance boost and make your Note 9 feel more snappy, you can go into About Phone, tap the MIUI version repeatedly until you unlock developer options. Go into additional settings, developer options, and scroll down to find these three settings and set them all to 0.5. You're welcome if you didn't know that, of course. For security, you have your usual options. The fingerprint scanner is fast and accurate for the most part. Not the fastest, but still really accurate. You also have face unlock, which can unlock your phone quickly, which is less secure, but the good thing is you can't trick it with a picture of yourself, so very nice. Disable this if you want to be taken to the home screen once you unlock your phone with face unlock. You can also use this at night or low light situations as long as your phone is at least 40% brightness. You also have your usual software features like 3-finger swipe down to take a screenshot and extend it if you want. Cast the screen of your Note 9 to an external display with options to minimize the window you're showing. Cast even with the phone screen off, hide notifications and private items from showing to the external display, which is a very nice touch. And screen recording, of course, which also allows you to change the resolution you're recording, the bitrate, orientation, option to choose the sound source, whether it be from the system sound, microphone, or mute the audio if you want. Unfortunately, you can only screen record with a max frame rate of 30 FPS, so yeah, kind of a bummer. You can also optionally hide the hole punch if you want in the display settings, which basically blackens the top portion with your notification icon still there, or blacken the top part altogether. Even though this is my first time owning a smartphone with a hole punch, I actually don't mind it. When I first unboxed it, it was kind of disturbing, but after using it for a couple of days, I've gotten used to it. And of course, you can be creative with your wallpapers, so very nice. You can also choose if you want to have software navigation buttons or gestures. Sound quality of the single bottom firing speaker is loud and clear for the most part, with minimal distortion even at max volume. Speaker test. And Xiaomi did actually use a good quality DAC for this, which is very nice. Of course, as long as you're using decent quality earbuds or headphones. No issues with call quality, it's great. I was able to hear the person I was talking to loud and clear, and I sounded loud and clear on their end also. And lastly is battery life. So again, the Redmi Note 9 has a 5020 mAh battery, which is basically a 2-day battery for casual users. I actually did try to emulate different use cases. So the first one that you're seeing is the casual use with 50% charge left by the end of the day, with over 5 hours of screen on time just using social media, some light gaming and picture taking and watching videos. This second one is probably what most people's usage would look like these days, with 20+% charge left by the end of the day and almost 10 hours of screen on time. So that's a combination of social media, gaming, picture taking, and watching videos. And the last one is the hardcore mobile gamer usage, with just gaming and a little bit of social media and YouTube in between breaks. So if you are the type of user, then expect to be near a wall outlet even before the end of the day. And expect to have an average of 7 to 8 hours of screen on time if you're going to be gaming on this for a whole day. And the Redmi Note 9 does come with a fast charging wall charger with 22.5 watts of max output, but the Redmi Note 9 only supports a max of 18 watts. So that will charge it from 0 to 100 in a little over 2 hours and 40 minutes. Also, you can fast charge with this wall charger with power delivery fast charging, which is basically a universal fast charger for smartphones that actually support it. So to conclude my review of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9, if you can get over the fact that this only has a plastic back or a main frame of the phone and scratches fairly easily, then of course I can easily recommend this to anyone in a budget looking for an overall solid smartphone, a great value smartphone. Of course, the case with the software bugs and the really average or mediocre video quality is hopefully something Xiaomi can fix through a software update. All the product links will be in the description of this video, whether you want to buy the Redmi Note 9 or Note 9S. For me, I can't really recommend the Note 9 Pro, mainly because the Note 9 and Note 9S exists. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, just leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, so of course leave a like if you did, dislike if you feel like you have to. Consider subscribing and turn on notifications to be updated on my latest videos. As always mga kuya, bookmark and use my Lazada affiliate link if you're buying at Lazada, and donate to my PayPal also to support the channel. Like my Facebook page and follow me on Twitter for other updates and announcements. Follow me on Shopee at Jerodies to be updated on my Shopee lives wherein I talk about tech and gaming related stuff. And of course mga kuya, stay safe, stay indoors, and stay healthy. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!